No one knew I was reborn. In my past life, my parents favored my younger brother, my girlfriend fell for him at first sight, and even the wife who had shared my life for 20 years had only used me as a stand-in for him. After discovering the truth, I was imprisoned until I died, consumed by depression. In this life, since no one loves Julian Miller, I will love myself. The first day, after returning from rebirth, Julian Miller, without telling a soul, drove alone to a private hospital renowned for its professionalism and discretion. He lay on the cold operating table, squinting slightly under the glare of the surgical lights. As the anesthetic flowed into his vein and his consciousness began to blur, he stared at his outstretched right hand. This hand had once held a brush, painting landscapes praised by masters. It had also trembled, trying to clutch the throat of his enemy. Ultimately, it had withered within the straitjacket of a psychiatric hospital. The doctor began the procedure, the faint sounds of instruments unusually clear in the silent operating room. He closed his eyes, silently vowing. This lifetime, he would reclaim the life that belonged to him, starting with this hand. The second day, after returning from rebirth, sunlight filtered through the blinds of the hospital room, casting dappled shadows on the cast encasing Julian's hand. Propped against the headboard, he used his still mobile left hand to operate a brand new, unregistered, encrypted phone. The screen's pale glow reflected his impassive face. He contacted a professional agency operating in the gray zone, commissioning them to fabricate a completely new, clean identity for him from scratch, one with no connection whatsoever to Julian Miller. Documentation, history, traces of the past, everything had to be flawless. Understood, Mr. Miller. We will prepare 3 identity packages with different backgrounds for your selection. Julian hung up and looked out the window. The sky was a clear blue, just like the last patch of sky he had seen through that high window before his death. Yet his state of mind was entirely different. The third day, after returning from rebirth. Late at night, Julian jolted awake from a nightmare, the back of his hospital gown soaked with cold sweat. In the dream, Isabella Crawford's exquisitely beautiful face contorted with a cruelty and mockery he had never seen before. He screamed hoarsely, demanding why she had deceived him for 20 years, why she had personally arranged for someone to drag him into a dark alley on a rainy night, to sever the tendons of his right hand with a cold blade, utterly destroying his future as a painter, destroying the pride he lived by. She only smiled, looking at him as if he were a misbehaving child. He snapped. All the accumulated hatred and despair erupted. He grabbed a paper knife from the table and lunged at her, wanting only mutual destruction. But the next instant, he was pinned to the floor by security guards who appeared from nowhere.
My husband's mental state has always been unstable. He suffers from severe, violent tendencies and delusions. He almost killed me today. Please take him to where he belongs.
Then followed the long imprisonment. That square room with padded walls, the daily drugs and electroshock therapy, and the leaves outside the window greening and yellowing, year after year, until his hair turned gray, his body wasted away, and he drew his last breath on an unremarkable morning. Waking from the dream, only the rhythmic beeping of the monitoring equipment filled the hospital room. Only Julian himself knew this wasn't a dream. It was the final, most real experience of his previous life. Every frame, every gasp of despair was etched into his soul. He often wondered, since fate had granted him this chance at rebirth, why couldn't it be more straightforward? Why couldn't he return to a younger time, to the starting point before any tragedy had occurred, when his life still held countless possibilities? Back to when his parents hadn't yet poured all their favor onto his brother, before he met Isabella, when his right hand was still whole and capable of wielding a brush freely. But one must not be ungrateful. He tugged at the corner of his mouth, forming a bitter smile. To get a second chance, to see all the brutal truths, was already a tremendous gift. Reborn once, he had grown more detached and more ruthless. At the very least, this lifetime, he would completely change that bleak, hopeless latter half of his life. Thinking this, he took out the encrypted phone. Its light illuminated the dim room. He sent a brief message, inquiring about the progress of the agency's assignment. A reply came almost instantly, in the same processed electronic tone. Mr. Miller, the independent lakeside property you commissioned us to purchase in Sweden has been successfully transferred under the target identity. All legal documents are in order. Additionally, based on the timeline you provided, our meteorological and geological analysis teams have cross-referenced the data. There is indeed an over 85% probability of a magnitude 6 or higher earthquake occurring in the southeastern part of Portman City in half a month, with the epicenter predicted to be in the old industrial district. You can utilize this natural disaster for a perfect disappearance. Julian looked at the words on the screen, and the last hanging stone in his heart settled slightly. He replied, "I have only one requirement. Make it convincing. Every detail must withstand scrutiny. I don't want any irrelevant individuals attempting to investigate or disturb my posthumous life. Understood? We will create plausible proof of presence and a body discovery scenario to ensure a logical closure." After ending the communication, Julian's gaze fell on the ring finger of his left hand. There was a faint, pale band from years of wear. He slowly twisted and removed the simple silver band. Isabella had given him many expensive gifts: a Patek Philippe watch, a Cartier Panther brooch, an agarwood bracelet, each more luxurious than the last, showcasing the Crawford Group CEO's wealth and taste. Yet it was this most ordinary, even somewhat crude, silver ring that he cherished most, insisting on using it even as his formal wedding band, because they had made it together, not long after they got together, during a trip to an ancient town in the south. In a touristy silver shop, they had hammered, polished, and engraved it themselves. Back then, her smile was genuine, her eyes sparkling. She said it represented a unique sentiment. He believed it wholeheartedly, thinking this priceless bond far surpassed any jewel. Julian walked to the attached bathroom sink and turned on the faucet. He held the cool ring in his palm for a moment, then opened his fingers. The silver band traced a faint arc through the air, fell into the basin with a small splash, and slowly spun and sank in the clear stream. In this life, he would absolutely not repeat the mistakes of the last. He would be the first to step away, cleanly and decisively, leaving behind for Isabella, for the Miller family, for all those he once cared for, or who had hurt him, a perfectly reasonable corpse. Julian dried his hands with a towel and walked out of the bathroom. Outside the hospital room door, Isabella had been waiting. Today she wore a champagne-colored haute couture suit, her makeup flawless, her long hair elegantly swept up. Seeing him emerge, she immediately stepped forward, slipping her arm through his with practiced ease, her voice soft.
"What took so long? The auction is about to start. We need to go in."
She looked up at him, a radiant smile on her face, her eyes filled with the kind of unreserved, blazing adoration a 20-year-old girl might have for her beloved, utterly different from the aloof, icy female CEO image she projected in financial magazines and news media. This was a high-profile antique and painting auction held at Portman City's top private art club. The attendees were mostly older, knowledgeable collectors or business owners seeking to appear cultured and expand their networks, along with celebrities from cultural and artistic circles. The appearance of the model couple, Julian and Isabella, sparked considerable whispers and discussion. "Look, Miss Crawford and her husband are here." Back then, no one thought much of the Miller family's eldest son marrying into the Crawfords. Everyone thought the Millers were social climbing, and Miss Crawford was making a mistake. Who would have thought? 20 years later, they still attend events together, inseparable, as loving as ever. Truly enviable. Envy what? A grown man, capable and able-bodied, marrying into his wife's family, living off a woman. Is that something to be proud of? I couldn't bear that kind of humiliation. You think you could marry in? Miss Crawford might not even look your way. Besides, everyone in Portman City's business circles knows the unwritten rule these past years. Offend Miss Crawford, and there might still be room for negotiation. She might let you off if you apologize sincerely. But offend Mr. Miller, and that's a true dead end. Her protectiveness of her husband is legendary. Julian listened to these comments envious, disdainful, analytical, with an expressionless, indifferent face. His arm linked with Isabella's as a waiter guided them to their reserved seats. Who could argue? After all, at this point in his previous life, he had thought the same. He was immersed in the tender trap Isabella had meticulously woven, believing her ruthless methods were proof of her deep love, thinking the gossip was mere jealousy of his fortunate match. He had even felt a secret pride, believing that although he had married into her family, he had gained genuine affection, surpassing countless marriages that were merely for show. But the truth was, not only everyone present, but even he, the person involved, had been completely deceived. She was a brilliant actress, performing for 20 full years, making him believe she truly, deeply loved him. Perhaps sensing Julian's low spirits today, the weariness between his brows, and wanting to cheer him up, or rather, to maintain her devoted wife persona once the auction began. Whenever the auctioneer introduced a lot, be it an ancient inkstone or an anonymous small painting, Isabella would lean close to Julian and ask softly,
"Do you like it?"
Not waiting for his answer, she would already raise her paddle, calling out astonishingly high bids without batting an eye, as if the numbers weren't money but mere props to amuse him. This act of throwing money around just to please her husband naturally drew frequent sidelong glances. During the intermission, the young Mr. Clifton, whose family had multiple business dealings with the Crawfords and whose elders were on good terms with Isabella's father, approached Isabella with a glass of champagne, wearing an ingratiating smile.
Miss Crawford, pardon the interruption. Regarding that anonymous ancient painting, jackdaws perching on a tree, in the second half, could you possibly be so gracious as to let me have it? It's a birthday gift specifically requested by my grandfather. If I don't win it, I'll really get a beating when I go home.
Hearing this, Isabella offered a flawless, polite smile, her tone gentle yet firm.
You flatter me, Miss Clifton. Unfortunately, it's just not possible. My husband is particularly fond of these antiques and paintings. I find the items today to be of excellent quality, perfect for filling the empty display cases in his collection room at home. So, I must apologize. Please convey my apologies to your grandfather on my behalf. I will visit another day to make amends.
As she spoke, her arm remained intimately linked with Julian's, her gaze resting on him as if his preferences were the only thing worth attention in the world. The young Miss Clifton gave an awkward laugh, dared not say more, nodded and bowed, and retreated. Just then, a slight stir came from the direction of the auction hall entrance. People turned to look. A hostess was guiding a newly arrived guest inside. It was a man around 50, wearing a well-tailored dark gray suit. He stood tall and straight, with an elegant, handsome face. Fine lines at the corners of his eyes added to his mature charm. A habitual, mild smile played on his lips as he walked in, nodding greetings to a few acquaintances along the way, exuding grace and poise. The moment this man appeared, Julian could clearly sense a nearly imperceptible change in Isabella's demeanor beside him. Her arm linked with his stiffened for an instant, though she quickly adjusted, her face maintaining its proper smile, and she didn't even turn to look. The relaxed, performative affection surrounding her vanished instantly. It was replaced by an intense, restrained excitement, a tremor leaking from the depths of her eyes despite her efforts to suppress it. It was a deeply buried, suddenly triggered instinctive reaction. Julian understood perfectly. He slowly turned his head, following the crowd's gaze. Sure enough, there was Sebastian Miller's face, always carrying a hint of a smile, seemingly indifferent to everything, yet effortlessly drawing all attention. Although 50, Sebastian was exceptionally well preserved, looking barely over 40. Time seemed to favor him, bestowing only a mature, suave demeanor, with little sign of wear. He chatted casually with people as he walked, his posture relaxed. Finally, his eyes swept the room and settled on Julian and Isabella's table. He then walked over.
Julian, Isabella,
Sebastian said, naturally taking the empty seat beside them, his smile warm, his tone familiar.
What a coincidence. You're here too. Had I known you were coming, I would have hitched a ride with you.
Julian didn't even lift an eyelid, as if he hadn't heard or seen the person. His gaze fixed indifferently on the empty auction podium ahead. Isabella, however, turned slightly and gave Sebastian a polite nod of acknowledgement, her voice calm.
It is quite a coincidence.
Yet, from the moment Sebastian appeared, her eyes seemed drawn by an invisible magnet. Though she controlled herself from staring directly, or for too long, her gaze kept unconsciously, fleetingly, sweeping toward him, landing on the auction catalog in his hand, his crossed knees, the delicate buttons on his cuffs, any detail related to him. Throughout the second half of the auction, Isabella was visibly distracted by Sebastian's presence. She no longer raised her paddle as frequently and enthusiastically as in the first half. Even when the auctioneer called out an item she had initially seemed interested in, she often drifted off, requiring a reminder from her assistant or the auctioneer, before snapping back to attention and hastily raising her paddle, often missing the best bidding opportunities. Not far away, a young guest attending such an auction for the first time quietly asked his companion, "Who is that gentleman who just arrived? He seems quite distinguished. Many people are greeting him." His companion, an older figure in Portman City's business circles, lowered his voice. "You're new to Portman City, so it's normal you haven't seen him. He's the younger son of the Miller family, Sebastian Miller. The Mr. Miller on stage is his twin brother. They were born minutes apart. Mr. Sebastian Miller married the only daughter of Winston Group's chairman, though, well, let's not talk about the Winstons these days. He's also the one that got away, the unattainable love held closest to CEO Isabella Crawford's heart." Julian coldly, mockingly added this unspoken footnote in his mind. The auction on stage continued, but Julian had completely lost interest. He no longer paid attention to the bidding, nor to the occasional probing glances Isabella sent his way. He leaned back into the soft leather sofa and closed his eyes, as if resting. Only he knew he was suppressing the surging, icy hatred from his past life and the resolute calm of this new one. Time passed slowly until the auctioneer announced in a voice trembling with excitement, "Distinguished guests, next is the finale of today's auction, the final lot, the millennium-old painting, Mandarin Ducks Parting the Waters, personally painted by Emperor Alistair." The surrounding lights dimmed, a spotlight focusing on the stage. Staff wearing white gloves carefully unrolled a beautifully mounted ancient hand scroll. The moment the painting was fully revealed, the hall erupted in suppressed gasps and exclamations. The commotion pulled Julian back to the present. He opened his eyes. No explanation from the auctioneer was needed. Some veteran collectors in the audience stood up excitedly, craning their necks, murmuring to themselves, This condition. Could this be the authentic painting recorded in the history book, but later lost? Look at the feathers of the Mandarin ducks. The brushwork is clear and meticulous, the layers of ink wash distinct, extraordinary skill, and the ink color is deep and rich, with a subdued luster. It must be the Imperial Li Tingui Hui ink. If this is real, it's a national treasure. The auctioneer, wearing a proud smile, chimed in appropriately, "Excellent eyes, everyone." After examination by 3 of our auction house's authoritative appraisal masters, it has been unanimously confirmed that this Mandarin Ducks Parting the Waters is undoubtedly the authentic work of Emperor Alistair. Please observe. A pair of Mandarin ducks swim together, parting the clear water, heading toward distant reed beds. In our traditional culture, Mandarin ducks symbolize eternal love, representing a devoted couple, mutual affection, and growing old together. His voice was full of passion. What's even rarer is the story behind it. Historical records state that Emperor Alistair and Empress Adelaide married young, deeply in love. The emperor, though having access to many, remained devoted only to her, leaving the imperial harem empty. This painting was personally created by the emperor for the empress's birthday, gifted to her, meaning one love, one lifetime. And indeed, they were the only imperial couple in the vast expanse of recorded history to be explicitly documented as having fulfilled the vow. This painting not only possesses extraordinary artistic value, it carries the weight of humanity's highest yearning for true love across the ages. Its significance cannot be overstated. Just then, Sebastian, who was seated nearby, turned his head. His gaze bypassed Isabella entirely and landed directly on Julian's face. The corner of his mouth curved in that familiar, meaningful smile. He spoke.
"I came all the way here precisely because I saw the auction catalogue and was especially intrigued by the story behind this painting."
His voice wasn't loud, but it carried clearly enough to be heard by several nearby tables. Julian didn't look at him. His eyes were fixed, unblinking, on the unfurled ancient painting. The Mandarin ducks on the silk were vividly lifelike, nestled together in quiet devotion. Green water rippled gently. Reeds swayed in an unseen breeze. In his previous life, at this exact moment, he had still been completely in the dark. He hadn't known that Isabella's true love was Sebastian, hadn't known that every kindness she had ever shown him was part of an elaborate, meticulously crafted deception. Back then, he had only felt that the painting's symbolism was too beautiful, too perfect a reflection of everything he imagined marriage to be. Filled to the brim with love, he had wanted nothing more than to acquire it at any cost and present it to Isabella as a gift for their 20th wedding anniversary. He had been so wholly absorbed in the bidding, his blood running hot with fervor, that he hadn't even registered what Sebastian had said. Naturally, he had also failed to notice the brief, complicated glance that had passed between Isabella and Sebastian in that moment, or the expression on Sebastian's face, one of absolute confidence, laced with veiled provocation. In the end, he had secured the ancient painting for a price that set a new record for art auctions at the time. He remembered the sheer, overwhelming joy he had felt, how he had carried it back to the Crawford residence with reverent care and hung it in the most prominent spot in the bedroom. How he had looked at it every day and felt his happiness overflowing. And what came after? Afterward, Isabella schemed to have him committed to a psychiatric institution. In the 3rd year of his imprisonment, she made a rare show of kindness and came to visit him. Right in front of him, she had someone take the painting down.
This painting is just gathering dust with me. You understand art, I'm giving it to you. Do you understand now? In my heart, my one love, one lifetime has always been with Sebastian, never you, Julian. You were nothing more than a pathetic stand-in, a temporary placeholder to fill the void he left behind.
A familiar, spasming pain seized Julian's heart, but it was swiftly crushed beneath a far more powerful, ice-cold clarity. He drew a slow, deep breath and released it just as slowly. This lifetime, he wanted none of it. This painting, this symbol of a laughable love, he no longer wanted it. This woman who had brought him nothing but endless suffering and betrayal, he no longer wanted her. He would sever every last one of these ties and walk toward his own new beginning. Chapter 2. Eleanor Winston, his ex-girlfriend. They had been a perfect match, deeply in love, but after meeting Sebastian Miller just once, Eleanor fell head over heels, unable to extricate herself. On Sebastian's word, she eloped with him at their engagement party, right in front of everyone, turning Julian into a laughingstock. His parents watched with smiling eyes, utterly unsurprised. He stood on the stage, numb from head to toe. It was Isabella Crawford who stepped up, let him down, and declared she had been secretly in love with him for years. He believed her. Back then, Isabella was just a junior member of the Crawford family. Crawfords demanded he marry into their family. Defying the pressure, she declared she would give up everything to marry him. Unwilling to cause her trouble, he agreed. 20 years of married life, they were deeply affectionate. Yet, they never had children. The media didn't dare fabricate stories about Isabella, so they directed their speculations at him. She had the Crawford legal team sue every single outlet that dared slander him. She did so much for him. On their 25th wedding anniversary, he cooked a table full of dishes. They grew cold, but Isabella never came home. Her phone was unreachable. He searched everywhere, only to stumble upon Isabella and Sebastian embracing by the sea.
Why were you so foolish? Living with someone you don't love, just for my sake.
I didn't think that much at the time. Since you liked Eleanor, I could only find a way to keep Julian from bothering you. Do you know what it feels like to watch the person you love most get married and have children?
Sebastian tightened his arm around her. You've suffered. Isabella shook her head. It wasn't suffering.
The day before the wedding, I went to the hospital for surgery.
I didn't want to bear his child. You said you disliked his identity as the inheritor of traditional painting. So I hired people to stage an abduction. To have his hand tendon severed while he was protecting me. I even stopped him from getting surgery.
You really didn't have to give up your chance to be a mother for me.
Just sharing a bed with him was revolting enough. I could never have his child. In my eyes, your child would be my child.
Only now did he realize the woman he loved was also in love with Sebastian. He was just a substitute. He had always thought they were simply unlucky with children, but it turned out she never wanted them. The life he gave up, the career he ruined protecting her, it was all just a play she orchestrated. Before he knew it, he was standing before them. Isabella's face instantly paled with panic. Sebastian's eyes couldn't conceal their triumph. Julian broke down, demanding answers. Fearing he would spread the truth and affect Sebastian, Isabella immediately had her security guards lock him in the attic of the Crawford mansion, under 24-hour watch. Having lived together for over 2 decades, Isabella might have harbored a sliver of feeling for him, occasionally visiting, but he couldn't bear the shock. His mind gradually grew hazy, his hair turned white overnight, and in his madness, he wanted to end it all with her. Unfortunately, he failed. In the end, Winston Holdings went bankrupt. Sebastian could no longer leech off Eleanor, so he divorced her without hesitation. Isabella, having admired him for decades, finally ascended to her desired position. She simply had him transferred to a psychiatric hospital and locked away. Spending every day by Sebastian's side, Julian eventually died quietly of illness in that mental institution. Consciousness returned. Julian struggled to open his eyelids.
How did you hurt your wrist again? You lost so much blood, you scared me to death.
It's not a new injury. It's from the reconstructive surgery. The wound reopened when you pushed me.
I'm sorry, I accidentally knocked you over. You know Sebastian has a weak heart. We're all family.
No need to explain. I know.
Why did you suddenly decide to get the surgery?
I can't even bend it properly. Isn't that being crippled? Back then, you said surgical techniques weren't advanced enough, feared further damage, and wouldn't let me do it. Medical technology advances every day now. I don't want to be a cripple anymore.
All right. I'll find the most renowned nerve specialist tomorrow. Because your father hitting you led to this hospitalization, Sebastian feels very guilty. This matter was also your fault. Look, he's injured too.
Apologize to him. Call it even, okay? Do you know what Sebastian said to me?
Doesn't matter. You're brothers, and you're the elder one. What's wrong with conceding a step? Why be so particular?
Isabella's words were like a sharp blade plunging again into his numb heart. Yes, to his parents, to Isabella, to Eleanor. What mattered was Sebastian. All they wanted was for him to admit guilt, to reprimand him to make Sebastian happy. He should have understood this truth in his previous life. An apology is fine. In half a month. After all, in half a month, he would be dead. Let the ghost apologize. Isabella canceled all her work to stay with him in the hospital. When he went into surgery, she prayed outside. She meticulously noted every doctor's instruction and prohibition in her phone. The moment he picked up an apple, she would have a plate of sliced apples ready. Doctors, nurses, or visiting friends would see it and exclaim, "The relationship between Miss Crawford and Mr. Miller is truly wonderful." The Julian of his past life would have been happy and satisfied hearing that. The Julian of now still smiled when he heard it. But the smile was one of mockery, mocking himself, and mocking Isabella. It was all just an absurd joke. Isabella wanted him to stay in the hospital a few more days, but Julian refused. He didn't want to spend all day in the same space with such hypocritical people. On the way home from the hospital, they passed a school. A no honking sign stood at the gate as a group of children ran out, faces beaming with radiant smiles. Only then did Julian remember these 2 days were for college entrance exams. Watching those bright, uninhibited children, he sighed. If we had a child, they'd be about this age now. In the past, they saw doctors, took Chinese medicine, tried IVF. They endured every hardship. Clearly, there was nothing physically wrong, yet they never had a child. In the end, he had accepted fate. However, the truth was cruel. The medical reports he saw had all been embellished by Isabella, concealing the fact she'd had surgery to prevent pregnancy. He wondered, what was Isabella thinking back then? Watching his troubled expression, hearing his words, a flicker of pity passed through Isabella's eyes. As she grew older, watching friends have children to bring them joy, she had felt envy too. Unfortunately, her fertility had gradually declined. She leaned against his chest, but looking up, she was startled by the cold indifference in his eyes. Suppressing the sudden unease rising in her heart, she wrapped her arms around his waist.
We haven't visited the children at the orphanage in a long time. Shall we go?
Though phrased as a question, Isabella immediately instructed the driver to turn around. The orphanage was a Crawford Group charity project. The director personally welcomed them, reported on recent work, and finally produced several photos. Mr. Miller, as you requested, the teachers conducted earthquake emergency drills with the children. Here are the activity photos. Though he knew the earthquake in his previous life hadn't caused damage to the orphanage, to be safe, he had contacted the director to conduct drills, ensuring the children's safety in this life. Isabella smiled helplessly.
You're always worrying needlessly. Portman City isn't on a seismic belt. How could there be an earthquake?
Julian explained, it's just being prepared. Seismic belts are summaries of past earthquake-prone areas. Not being on one only means the probability is low, not that it's zero. After having lunch with the children, the two took a walk in the courtyard. In the distance, children ran and played happily. Isabella held his arm and discussed,
My father wants us to pick a child from the Crawford side branches to bring up next year. Would you prefer a boy or a girl?
Julian gave a light laugh. What next year? He would disappear completely soon, so he didn't answer. Instead, he asked the question he had wanted to ask for 2 lifetimes. Isabella Crawford, do you really love me? Isabella was stunned. After marriage, he had never addressed her by her full name again. She gripped his hand tightly. The lie she had told for 20 years should have flowed smoothly, but looking into Julian's calm eyes, she could only smile evasively.
Don't be silly. We're an old married couple. What's this talk of love?
Julian said nothing more. Isabella's phone ringtone broke the silence. Sebastian's cheerful voice came through clearly. Snow, next Friday is my birthday. You and Julian must come celebrate. No, that day is Julian's birthday too. We're having our own celebration. As if afraid she'd regret it, she hung up immediately. In his previous life, they had eaten out and watched movies like young people. Go. If you don't, the media will start writing nonsense again. Joy instantly lit up Isabella's eyes and brows. Her hand trembled with excitement as she redialed. It was unlike her usual composure, but it was how she looked when she loved someone.
Don't worry. It's your birthday too that day. I'll stay by your side the whole time.
He didn't respond, because that day was his day of departure, and besides, he didn't believe her at all. In the blink of an eye, the birthday arrived. The celebration was grand. The Miller parents spent a fortune buying a yacht for Sebastian. They called friends and acquaintances, inviting many to celebrate their younger son's birthday, completely forgetting that another son shared the same birth date. Sebastian was surrounded in the center, basking in congratulations and flattery. By the shore, 2,000 drones ascended, forming his portrait in the sky, constantly shifting. This is Miss Crawford's birthday gift for Mr. Sebastian Miller. Happy birthday to him. The crowd gasped in awe. That must cost millions for half an hour. What's that to the Crawford Group? It seems Miss Crawford and her husband are truly devoted. Julian stood in a corner. The person who said she would stay by his side was now with his parents. gathered around Sebastian, watching the show, having long forgotten him. He looked up at the gift his wife had meticulously prepared for someone else. Footsteps approached from behind. Julian turned to find Eleanor Winston. Before his death in his previous life, he had heard her fate. Winston Holdings bankrupt. Her parents passed away. Sebastian divorced her, and she died of illness in a shabby rental.
I'm sorry. Since his fiancée became his sister-in-law, they had hardly spoken. There's nothing to apologize for. It's all in the past. The Winston family is almost finished. Sebastian won't help. Instead, he resents that Winston can no longer be of use to him. I always think, if I had chosen you back then.
There's a saying, people always fantasize about the road not taken. But do you know why it's called a fantasy? Because there's no such thing as a pill for regret. Besides, I wasn't in line to inherit the Miller family. Choosing me would have been useless. Eleanor smiled bitterly. The first 2 years of marriage were sweet as honey. But later, Sebastian's flaws and motives emerged. Arguments increased. And she often thought of Julian. Julian had talent and ability. He didn't need to leech off the Winstons.
Didn't you sleep with my brother? What's wrong with me finding a lover?
After every fight, Sebastian would comfort her a slap, followed by a sweet date. And she was soft-hearted, muddling through half a lifetime. A sudden thought of revenge rose in her heart.
Isabella marrying you back then might not have been out of love.
As a woman, she knew her rival all too well. No matter how well Isabella hid it, Eleanor could see the look in her eyes when she watched Sebastian. Eleanor looked at Julian, only to find his expression completely unchanged, calm as if he'd known all along.
You knew already?
Knew what? Isabella stood there, her expression grim, looking at the two standing side by side. Eleanor twitched the corner of her mouth.
Nothing. I was just curious where your wedding ring went. Now I know the answer.
Isabella's gaze fell on his finger. He had always treasured that ring, wearing it for 20 years without taking it off. Now, his finger was bare. I lost it during the auction, washed my hands, and it accidentally went down the drain. Isabella felt a surge of anger. The ring had been missing for half a month, and she only noticed because an outsider pointed it out. Most importantly, he hadn't told her then, and now his explanation sounded so indifferent.
Let's go home early later, okay? I prepared a birthday gift for you.
Another randomly purchased antique, no doubt. She only ever put her heart into preparing gifts for Sebastian. Julian neither agreed nor refused. It was time to cut the cake. Sebastian mentioned that today was also Julian's birthday on purpose, asking him not to mind their parents' neglect. He even insisted Julian come on stage to cut the cake together. The earthquake stirred the seabed, and the sea surface instantly grew turbulent. Wave after wave hit the hull. People on board screamed, some running into the cabin, others clinging to the railings. He and Sebastian were already at the very edge of the deck. A severe jolt, and a wave swept them both overboard.
Save the one in white! Don't worry about the one in black for now.
Julian looked at his own black sleeve. A bitter smile escaped the corner of his mouth. Underwater, someone placed an oxygen mask on him. 2 figures flanked him, swimming him toward shore. Through the water, he took one last look back. Julian took the file folder. He could confirm that in this life, he was truly free. He double-checked. There won't be any slip-ups? Julian looked down at the gradually shrinking Portman City. The difference was that this time, it resulted in one casualty. Isabella felt an immense weight lift from her chest the moment she saw Sebastian climb aboard. With practiced composure, she directed the rescue crew to administer emergency aid, ordered dry clothes and hot water to be brought, and had towels draped over him. The sea gradually settled, and everyone's frayed nerves began to steady. Sebastian's parents crowded around him, voices thick with concern. All across the deck, people called out for family and companions, huddling together in trembling gratitude for having survived. Then, Isabella's face drained of all color. The full weight of what she had just shouted crashed down upon her. She spun around, ready to order the rescue team back into the water for Julian, only to hear panicked voices crying out, "Where is Mr. Miller? I think he went under." In water this cold, could anyone still be alive? She stumbled to the railing, and the question escaped her lips before she could stop it.
Which Mr. Miller?
The people around her fell silent, their eyes speaking what their mouths would not. The chaos moments before had been absolute, but plenty of them had heard exactly what she'd screamed. Isabella stared out at the dark expanse of water. Despair crashed over her in a suffocating wave, and all strength fled her limbs. She dropped to her knees with a hollow thud. Julian? Clawing at the railing, she lunged forward like a woman possessed, trying to hurl herself over the side. Hands seized her from every direction, dragging her back.
Let me go! I have to save Julian!
A torrent of voices rose around her, pleading, reasoning, commanding, but she heard none of it. The yacht turned back toward the shore. The search and rescue team arrived swiftly.
Julian, you have to hold on. Please, just hold on.
She had no idea how much time had passed when a team finally approached, a stretcher balanced between them. Miss Crawford, we urge you to prepare yourself. We found your husband's remains among the rocks along the shore. Isabella's hand trembled violently as she lifted the white cloth. She stared, transfixed, at the figure lying on the stretcher. For a single, disoriented moment, her mind refused to register what she was seeing. This was not her husband. Her Julian would look at her with those clear, gentle eyes. He would smile at her. He would speak to her. The man before her now, eyes sealed shut, his face a mask of blood and filth, utterly devoid of life. How could this be her Julian? With shaking hands, she drew out her handkerchief and began wiping the grime from his face, stroke by careful stroke.
Julian, get up. We still have to go home and celebrate your birthday.
A quiver of tears crept into her voice at the end, but the figure on the stretcher remained perfectly, horribly still. Sebastian carefully masked the triumph, surging through him, and stepped forward, his face arranged into an expression of sympathy.
Isabella, don't grieve like this. We're all heartbroken over my brother's death.
Heartbroken?
Isabella lifted her head and looked at him, then at his parents standing behind him, their faces utterly indifferent. They hadn't even wanted the yacht to turn back. It would have interrupted the birthday celebration. A smile twisted across her lips, more ghastly than any tears could ever be. She had been wrong. So terribly wrong. Sebastian had his parents, his son, his Eleanor. Julian had only ever had her. Only she could have fought for his rescue, and she had abandoned him, sent every single rescuer to save Sebastian first. Had he heard her shouting? Had he heard those words? The despair he must have felt in those final moments, she could scarcely bear to imagine it. If only she had sent just one rescuer. Just one. He would not be lying here now, cold and motionless. Regret tore through her, sinking its teeth into every limb, every bone, every nerve. The world tilted, darkened, and she knew nothing more. When she awoke in the hospital, her secretary pressed a sheet of paper into her hand. Miss Crawford, the deceased's remains require your signature before cremation and burial can proceed. Isabella tore the cremation authorization form to shreds. She had the master bedroom of the villa converted into a refrigerated chamber. She spent a fortune commissioning a custom cryogenic casket to preserve the body. Every day, she changed his clothes. Every day, she sat beside him and talked. Every night, she slept beside him. Word of these rituals seeped out through the household staff. Those who had initially wondered why there was no funeral began to whisper among themselves. Isabella had lost her mind. But Isabella felt perfectly sane. She worked every day, ate every day, slept every day. How could that be madness? In fact, she had never felt such overwhelming relief. Her heart no longer had to live in that constant, gnawing dread, the terror of slipping up, the fear that Julian might discover the truth. That's right, Isabella did not love Julian. She made herself repeat this to herself every single day, until the day Sebastian appeared before her.
Eleanor and I are divorced. Isabella, I finally realized the one I've always loved is you. I can feel it. You love me too, don't you?
Isabella listened woodenly. Once, not so very long ago, these words would have sent her spiraling into ecstasy.
Yes, the one I truly love is you. Half a lifetime has passed, and my love for you has never faded. I married your brother only because I wanted you to be happy.
But now, there was only silence hanging between them. Sebastian, too caught up in himself to notice the void in her expression, pressed on.
Julian has been dead for a year now. I'm free. Let's finally seize our own happiness, for whatever time we have left. What do you say?
Still, Isabella said nothing. The meaning behind her silence began to dawn on him, and something dark twisted across his features.
Don't tell me you've actually fallen in love with Julian. Who was it that called me on her wedding night and swore to me that even married to Julian, her heart belonged only to me? Who told me that Julian was nothing more than a placeholder, a convenient stand-in when she couldn't have the real thing?
Sebastian had always known. Frail since childhood, he had been his parents' favorite from the start, but frailty meant nothing to the outside world. He still remembered, with bitter clarity, how his inferior grades had made him less favored by teachers and classmates than Julian. And though the two brothers looked so alike, it was Julian's desk that overflowed with love letters every day, Julian, that even the girl, Sebastian, secretly worshipped, gravitated toward. And so he had begun to scheme, to sabotage, to snatch away everything Julian held dear. That included Eleanor. And naturally, it included Isabella. Women were simple creatures. They loved sweet words, loved being charmed and flattered, loved having their every little whim anticipated. Julian was a block of wood, rigid, earnest, utterly incapable of finding common ground with them. So, Sebastian had always believed he held both Eleanor and Isabella firmly in the palm of his hand. Chapter 3. She could even tolerate his infidelity, but Isabella delivered a crushing blow.
Stop talking!
Every word from Sebastian reminded Isabella of how deeply she had wronged Julian.
I'm sorry, but my husband can only be Julian Miller.
Sebastian broke down, shouting,
You can't do this to me. I divorced Eleanor for you.
Isabella's tone was flat as she exposed his lie.
It wasn't for me. Winston Holdings went bankrupt. Eleanor can no longer be of any use to you. You want to marry me just to find yourself a cash cow. Even back then, you didn't choose me because the finster. Winston's only had Eleanor, an only daughter who could elevate you, while I was just one of many younger members of the Crawford family. And tell me, is having multiple affairs during your marriage to Eleanor how you show love for someone?
He was scum. The ridiculous part was, back then, she had deluded herself into pursuing his older brother for his sake. To please him, she had denied Julian any children. For him, she had ruined Julian's entire life. In the years since Julian's death, she had kept telling herself she didn't love him, but she knew it was a lie. She replayed their past over and over, every scene featuring Julian by her side. No matter how much she denied it, she had to admit that her feelings for Sebastian were just the obsession of an unattainable love. She had fallen for Julian during their day-to-day life. Together, it was just too late. And she had caused it all with her own hands. Ignoring Sebastian's ashen face, Isabella said,
I need to go home to my husband. Don't bother me again.
Sitting in the car, she looked at her reflection in the rearview mirror, hair streaked with gray, wrinkles etched around her eyes and brow. On the way home, she had the driver detour to a florist, where she picked out an orchid Julian had liked. The car stopped outside the villa gates. Isabella got out and found the front door ajar. Had she forgotten to lock it when she left? Her expression darkened as she and the driver checked room by room. Sobbing came from the second-floor bedroom. She went upstairs. Eleanor was leaning over the cryo casket, wiping away tears and murmuring apologies. Isabella rushed forward and dragged her away.
What are you doing here?
Eleanor tried to get up but failed.
I came to see Julian, and to see if you're tired of playing the devoted widow, Miss Crawford.
Isabella gripped her neck.
What do you mean?
I'm asking if you're tired of acting for all these years.
Isabella slapped Eleanor across the face.
Don't you dare spout nonsense in front of Julian.
Clutching her cheek, Eleanor let out a wild laugh.
I don't need to say a thing. Julian knew everything. That day, you asked us what we already knew. Remember?
Isabella's raised hand froze as she remembered the birthday. Eleanor continued.
That day, I told him you didn't marry him out of love. Guess how he reacted? He was calm. He already knew. How did he explain the missing wedding ring to you? And what do you think went through his mind when he heard you tell them to save Sebastian first?
The two questions drained the color from Isabella's face. She couldn't even bring herself to turn and face Julian. Finally, she understood why the love had vanished from his eyes when he looked at her. Finally, she understood why he had asked, "Do you really love me?" Watching Isabella's heartbroken expression, Eleanor threw her head back and laughed. They had all wronged Julian. How could Isabella so comfortably continue her charade of devotion? Security guards arrived and escorted Eleanor away. Isabella collapsed to her knees before the casket. She grabbed Julian's hand, wanting to defend herself, but found she had no defense. Suddenly, her gaze was drawn to the ring finger on his right hand. Wait, where was the ring mark? Julian had worn that missing wedding band for 20 years. There should have been an indelible mark, just like the pale skin left under a watch worn for years. But the body, before her, showed no such contrast. She remembered, suddenly before boarding the yacht, she had seen Julian talking to a few men, pointing at the sea. She asked who they were. Julian said they were friends. But Julian wasn't social. She knew his handful of friends. She had never seen those men before, but she had been so caught up in the joy of attending Sebastian's birthday party that she hadn't paid attention. Isabella began to tremble. An absurd idea took shape in her mind. She grabbed her phone and made a call. After discussion, the professional team reported to her, "Ms. Crawford, this body was created using advanced simulation technology. An ordinary person would never detect it.
Isabella had never imagined this would be the answer. Her vision blurred. Why? Why was Julian so cruel to her? If she had chosen to cremate the body, she might never have learned the truth. He had faked his death. Did she mean nothing to him? She slumped back in her chair, drained. No wonder he had suddenly wanted the restorative surgery. No wonder he had so readily agreed at the hospital to apologize to Sebastian, setting the date 2 weeks later. No wonder he had arranged earthquake drills at the orphanage in advance. So, just as Eleanor said, Julian had discovered her deception long ago. When did he find out, and how much did he know? Isabella clutched her head in agony, smashing everything in the room. If she had noticed his strangeness sooner, if she had chosen him firmly from the start, would he have abandoned his plan to fake his death? Once calmer, a flicker of joy rose within her. Since Julian wasn't dead, she still had a chance. Death was an insurmountable barrier, but Julian was alive now. No one could stop her from finding him. She would find Julian, even if it cost her everything.
A melodious ringtone sounded in the small courtyard. Mr. Miller, it's bad. The situation is exposed. The hand holding the paintbrush stilled. The familiar surname pulled his thoughts back a year. After faking his death, he had settled in our country under a new identity, with a name he chose himself, Oliver. In his previous life, he had been locked deep in a dark psychiatric hospital, dying without seeing the sun again. In this life, he hoped to live always in the sunlight. He had the agency purchase property in advance in this ancient European town, surrounded by snowy mountains. The money in his accounts was more than enough for a comfortable, affluent life here. Compared to his previous life, deprived of freedom, dying in depression, his current life was truly good. His wrist had healed well, allowing him to pick up his beloved brush again. He made a living here selling paintings, gradually gaining recognition. Neighbors in the district interested in his hometown culture came to seek guidance, which slowly developed into a workshop. A university even invited him to hold exhibitions and give lectures. He was happy to do his small part in promoting his homeland's traditional culture abroad. After a long silence, Oliver found his voice. What happened? It held a fear even he hadn't noticed. Then he dismissed the thought. She didn't love him. She wouldn't look for him. Besides, he had chosen death in this life, chosen to vanish from their world, chosen to make way for Sebastian. Why would Isabella look for him now? Unfortunately, the next moment, the agency personnel shattered that notion. We didn't expect Miss Crawford to keep the body without burying. Never buried? What was Isabella trying to do? Oliver wasn't narcissistic enough to think that after 20 years of marriage without her love, his death would suddenly make her realize she loved him all along. That was a plot for TV dramas. He never believed in it. Name your price. I'll pay, on the condition she never finds me. With that, he hung up. His hands shook as nightmares from his past life resurfaced. He reassured himself. Isabella wouldn't look for him. She couldn't possibly find him.
Hi, Oliver.
A group approached the yard, led by a young woman in her 20s, named Catherine, followed by 5 or 6 little kids. Catherine's grandfather was from Oliver's hometown, making her feel close to him. When he first arrived, confused and socially anxious, he stayed indoors.
It was Catherine bringing cookies with her younger brother who started a conversation. He learned the house he lived in originally belonged to her family. Catherine had fiery red hair and a personality to match.
Knowing he lived alone, she often visited with her brother, keeping him company and helping him explore the town.
Oliver, come play! It's Christmas! Moon Serenity Lake is so lively!
Catherine said in her not-so-fluent English. The children behind her chimed in. Oliver wanted to refuse, but Catherine and the kids surrounded him, playfully pushing him out the door. He had fun with the children. At the Christmas market, he even tried the uniquely spiced mulled wine. As Santa's reindeer sleigh soared over Moon Serenity Lake, Catherine suddenly hugged him.
Oliver, I like you. I think you're a very charming man. Can we be together?
Oliver was startled, flustered as he gently pushed her away. Catherine was displeased with his reaction, and even more dismissive of his reason for refusal.
Oliver, age is no barrier to love. Here, marriages with big age gaps are common.
Oliver shook his head. It wasn't just the significant age difference. He had never felt romantic affection for her. He had also decided to live the rest of his life freely and happily alone. Heaven had given him this second chance at life, so he could live his remaining years with autonomy. He would no longer be anyone's substitute. He was himself. He was Oliver, a painter. Catherine wasn't angry at his polite refusal, saying she wouldn't give up. Oliver, however, felt awkward around her afterward. Days passed. Oliver continued teaching, painting daily, learned to fish by the river, and made several fishing buddies. He didn't check his phone often. so he was unaware that across the ocean, Isabella was nearing madness. Apart from her, Julian had no one to rely on. The situation had been so perilous. How had he managed to fake his death and deceive everyone? Finding the people who helped him fake his death would surely lead her to Julian. The Crawford Group's influence spanned the nation. She dispatched countless investigators. All domestic branch operations were halted. Tens of thousands of Crawford employees were sent out with Julian's photo, knocking on doors house by house. Yet no valuable information surfaced, partly because too much time had passed, and partly because she felt an invisible hand was erasing all traces.
Julian, where are you? I deceived you, but could you really abandon our 20 years as husband and wife?
Isabella's pleas were endless, her voice hoarse, but Julian wasn't there to hear. Sitting on the orphanage playground, the children's cheerful voices couldn't dispel her profound loneliness and desolation.
Miss Crawford, look at this photo. This profile looks exactly like Mr. Miller.
The photo on the phone Assistant Lee handed over was from Christmas Day. The man wore a scarf, his frame tall and slender. Though only his profile was visible, Isabella was certain. It was Julian. Who was this foreign woman? How dare she be in Julian's arms? That was her place. Furious, Isabella clenched the phone. She couldn't accept that Julian might have a new love. Julian was hers.
Where is this?
A manager at a branch office saw it on a friend's social media. The manager has already inquired. It was taken 5 days ago by Serenity Lake.
Let's go. Julian, since you're not dead, we're still husband and wife. I will bring you back.
She would never let go. They had been married for 20 years. He belonged to her. She would drive that woman, whoever she was, away from Julian's side. Eleanor saw Julian before Isabella did. Perhaps Julian's rebirth and the change in his own fate had subtly pushed others onto different paths as well. The Winston family's bankruptcy was still unavoidable. Eleanor's parents passed away one after another. When she needed companionship most, Sebastian, just like in the previous life, chose divorce. But in this life, Eleanor didn't die from a simple fever in a rented room. After her final visit to see Julian, feeling unburdened, she decided to travel. She remembered, when she was with Julian, he mentioned there's a Santa Claus village. He said he would take her to see what a real Santa looked like when they had time. For reasons she couldn't explain, Eleanor set Sweden as her first stop. To her utter shock, she saw Julian there. Wasn't he dead? She had seen his body. Could there really be someone so similar? By the time she gathered her wits and pushed through the crowd, she had lost sight of him. Eleanor thought she was mistaken, until a friend back home suddenly told her Julian had faked his death. He wasn't dead at all. Having already left our country, Eleanor immediately turned back. She had no photo of Julian. She could only search neighborhood by neighborhood herself. Persistence paid off. She finally saw him outside a house, surrounded by foreign children, teaching a little boy how to use a calligraphy brush. His expression was stern, serious, and focused. Eleanor stopped. She wasn't sure if Julian wanted to see an old acquaintance like her. Like a voyeur, she came daily, quietly observing his peaceful, contented life. But today, she knocked on the door. Because Isabella was coming.
Julian.
When the door opened to reveal Eleanor, Oliver froze. In his previous life, around this time, Eleanor had died in that rented room. Oliver thought, if Eleanor's fate could change, had his own ending also shifted through his efforts? The dark cloud over his heart began to dissipate.
Julian.
Eleanor's eyes reddened as she called his name again. Oliver, ever the gentleman, ushered her into the living room and poured her a coffee. Eleanor's eyes were slightly red.
It's so good that you're alive.
Oliver Seahood. I changed my name. I'm Oliver now. And if that's all you came to say, you can leave. Eleanor hurriedly wiped her tears.
I didn't want to disturb your life. It's just, Isabella knows you're alive. And she seems to have found out you're here. She's on a flight headed this way.
All right. I know. Thank you. Oliver wasn't surprised. Just before Eleanor knocked, he had finished a call with the agency and was already aware. He had no intention of meeting Isabella. Even if his fate had diverged from his past life, the agony of imprisonment was etched into his bones, and he truly couldn't understand what Isabella wanted. Julian Miller was dead. Eleanor and Sebastian were divorced. Her dream was to be with Sebastian. What was she waiting for? Did her love story require him, the observer, to be perfect? Coincidentally, a friend he met while lecturing at the university had invited him to visit Holland. He accepted immediately. Eleanor lowered her head.
Also, Winston Holdings is bankrupt. I've lost everything. And Sebastian and I are divorced.
Oliver sighed. His ingrained manners prevented him from speaking harshly to a woman, but he couldn't help it. What does that have to do with me? Don't tell me you expect me to support you? Eleanor was left speechless. She knew Julian Oliver didn't welcome her. Like the others, she had no right to disturb his new life. She stood to leave. The door closed behind her.
May you have peace and happiness. Goodbye.
Eleanor didn't know if he could hear her. She turned and embarked on her new journey. May we all live in the way we choose. Isabella's plane landed in Sweden. At the same time, another aircraft soared into the sky from the tarmac. Anxious, she checked herself in the mirror repeatedly. Before the flight, she had dyed her gray hair black and applied elegant, tasteful makeup. She feared Julian would think her old. After all, the photo showed he was still as refined and handsome as ever. Snowflakes settled in her hair. Isabella's heart pounded uncontrollably. Would Julian forgive her? She had deceived him, and he hated deception most. But they had lived together for so many years. He was always soft-hearted. Surely he would. She deliberately ignored what Julian's choice to fake his death and leave her truly meant. She kept psyching herself up. Julian loved her. If she apologized sincerely, they could return to how things were. Didn't he want children? Before coming, she had selected a pair of adorable, intelligent twins, a boy and a girl. They could be officially recognized as theirs whenever he agreed. She had even named them Mufan for the boy, Ifan for the girl. She would tell him her heart belonged only to him now. Sebastian was long gone. Julian would be so moved when he heard. Isabella deluded herself. She held the restored mandarin ducks parting the waters. The two ducks were together again, just like them. Arriving at the villa gate, she could see through the fence that the yard was filled with orchids Julian liked. A rocking chair sat to the right. She could imagine him curled up there during bloom, sipping tea and reading a book. Nervously, Isabella smoothed the hair at her temples and knocked. She clutched the antique painting tighter against her chest, imagining what expression Julian might wear when he saw her. Surprise? Disgust? It wouldn't be happiness, that much she knew. But it didn't matter. As long as he was still willing to see her. After what felt like an eternity, no one came to the door. Isabella couldn't help but glance at her phone. Julian's daily routine had always been meticulously regular. There was no way he would be resting at this hour.
Could he not have heard me?
Who are you looking for?
At the sound of the question, Isabella turned. There stood the girl from the photograph, right behind her, staring at her with open curiosity. Isabella looked at the younger woman before her, jealousy coiling tight in her chest.
You live here?
She clenched her jaw, fighting to keep her emotions in check. Catherine studied the woman in front of her.
No, I'm Oliver's neighbor. He's not home right now.
Oliver?
Catherine scratched her head, puzzled.
Wait, you're not here looking for Oliver?
Without another word, Isabella pulled up the photo on her phone and held it out.
This Oliver you mentioned, is this him?
From Catherine, Isabella learned that Julian now went by the name Oliver, and that 2 hours earlier, he had packed his things and left for the airport. He'd been in such a rush that he'd only had time to ask Catherine to look after his garden. He hadn't mentioned where he was headed. 2 hours ago. That meant they had crossed paths at the airport and missed each other entirely. She had been so close to seeing him again. How could the timing be this impossibly cruel?
In the whole past year, I never saw anyone come looking for Oliver. Why have so many shown up recently? Are all of you friends of his?
Catherine's question snagged Isabella's attention like a hook.
What do you mean? Someone else has been here besides me?
Yesterday, or maybe the day before, another woman, she managed to see Oliver, stayed about 10 minutes, I think.
A name surfaced instantly in Isabella's mind. Eleanor. It had to be her. She must have said something to Julian, something that made him hide from her. Fury surging through her veins, Isabella dialed the number. Eleanor answered almost immediately. Faced with Isabella's frantic, raging interrogation, she posed only a single question in return.
Julian faked his own death just to escape you. What do you think that means?
It meant he would never forgive her. It meant he never wanted to see her again. He knew she would come. Yet he left on the very day she arrived. He made her wait in vain, sending a clear message. He would not see her, much less forgive. But Isabella stubbornly believed that her relationship with Sebastian held no real substance. He shouldn't be so cruel. He hadn't even heard her explanation. What right did he have to end things unilaterally? She asked Catherine for his contact information. But Catherine said that since they were neighbors who saw each other daily, they had never exchanged details. Isabella could only lie in wait. Catherine said that snow season was still a month away, and since Julian had entrusted her with looking after the yard, he likely wouldn't return for a month or two. When snow season arrived, a thick blanket covered everything, draping the world in silver. Isabella swept snow in Julian's yard, her movements clumsy and strenuous. She remembered how he always said snow was romantic, hoping they could one day go to a southern town together, small bridges over flowing water, the two of them walking in the snow until their hair turned white, sharing the snowfall, growing old together. Back then, she still harbored foolish hopes for Sebastian and found Julian sentimental. Later, when she took over the company, her responses became nothing but perfunctory promises of next year for sure. She must have been smiling then, her tone gentle, everything a perfect deception. She didn't know when exactly he had stopped bringing it up. Perhaps it was from the moment she decided life was set, that nothing would ever change again. After finishing her own yard, Catherine came to help, seeing Isabella struggling even with the shovel.
You always say you like Oliver. What do you like about him?
He can paint, writes beautiful calligraphy, and holds exhibitions. He cooks very spicy food. He's kind, gives food to the homeless, often visits the orphanage. He's gentle, all the children adore him.
Isabella was stunned. Because Sebastian couldn't paint and was jealous of Julian, she had once arranged for thugs to sever the tendons in his hand. Because she feared breaking out, Julian, who loved spicy food, accommodated her and kept their meals bland. She had always known he was kind, donating to schools every year, pouring his heart into the orphanage. And that orphanage? She had invested in it, as a form of compensation, because she refused to have children. He must be very happy here, right? Perhaps she shouldn't disturb him. Yet she couldn't convince herself to give up. If only he would come back, she would let him do whatever he wanted. She would never stand in his way again. Isabella had been staying at this residence for 2 months now, yet she still had not managed to see Julian Miller. The senior executives of Crawford Group were growing increasingly discontent with her prolonged absence and neglect of her duties, which had already led to significant project losses. The old guard of the corporation had never been comfortable with a woman at the helm in the first place. Now that they had a tangible failure to latch onto, they were hardly about to let the opportunity slip away. The elder, Mr. Crawford, was livid, and Isabella was left with no choice but to return home. Yet, she did not give up. Inspired by the photograph incident, a new idea occurred to her. She could harness the power of the internet. She had money, and people were everywhere. As long as Julian still showed his face in public, someone would always be willing to provide information in exchange for a payday. She posted a missing person notice online, a reward of $100,000 for any verified recent information on Julian Miller's whereabouts. The notice caused an immediate uproar. Upon learning that the man in question was the husband of Crawford Group's female president, netizens erupted with teasing commentary. A real-life dominant female CEO? Are we just extras in your personal drama? Some employees leaked that the company had been privately searching for him for ages, even revealing that one manager had been promoted to headquarters specifically for providing useful information. Then, someone pointed out the stark fact. Mr. Miller had reportedly fallen into the sea and perished a year ago. The image of the prestigious Crawford Group making such a massive, public fuss over a dead man sent the topic rocketing to the top of the trending charts. The public's initial envy morphed into rampant speculation. It was, at this moment, that a video began circulating online. The background was a luxury private club, and it clearly showed Julian's brother, Sebastian, taunting Julian with aggressive arrogance. Then, Isabella entered the frame, and the footage of her pushing Julian from behind was unmistakable. Can a guy really be this much of a snake? Wait, isn't that guy the owner of some company? I thought the Crawford-Miller marriage was a loving one? That orphanage in the north of the city was supposedly built by President Crawford as a charitable gesture to compensate for their childlessness. If they're so in love, what is this video all about? They're just a couple keeping up appearances. Theories and speculations ran wild. Although netizens couldn't unearth the precise emotional entanglements, they managed to completely dox Sebastian. Everything was laid bare. The Miller parents' blatant favoritism toward the younger son, and their cruel mistreatment of the elder. Sebastian's predatory marriage into a wealthy family, only to drain them dry. His extramarital affairs, not a single, sordid detail, was left out. The Miller family's products faced a nationwide boycott. People went so far as to hurl rotten eggs at their villa and company headquarters. The Miller family's business, already struggling to stay afloat, collapsed entirely. In her previous life, because of Isabella's lingering feelings for Sebastian, the Miller family, after bleeding the Wren family dry, had latched onto the Crawford Group like parasites and lived a life of carefree luxury. But in this life, Isabella cut them off. Completely. Even when Sebastian knelt before the Crawford building, pleading for help, she coldly refused him, calling it nothing less than divine retribution. After watching the video, Isabella cut off every last shred of hope the Miller family might have harbored. The truth, delayed by over a year, now struck her across time and space with the force of 2 brutal slaps to the face. She remembered how Julian had asked her from his hospital bed back then, wanting to know what Sebastian had said to him, but she had dismissed it as unimportant, pinned the blame on Julian, made him apologize, and accused him of being overly sensitive and stubborn. She later tracked down the person who had leaked the video. It turned out to be a former server at the club. He had once been harassed by a difficult customer, and Julian had stepped in to help him. The server had recorded the video, disgusted by Isabella's public hypocrisy, but had been too afraid to release. Now, seeing the story had reached a fever pitch, he finally dared to post it online. Isabella found she couldn't even stand herself. Clickbait media outlets began fabricating sordid romantic scandals, and the negative press was affecting the Crawford brand. The PR department formally requested whether to send out cease and desist letters to clarify the situation. Isabella looked at the plummeting stock price and, to everyone's shock, she smiled. She had once again witnessed the immense power of internet virality. Her next move was to record a public apology, which she posted directly from the official Crawford Group account. On camera, she looked gaunt and exhausted as she recounted the entire sequence of events.
I want to tell my husband, Julian Miller, that I am sorry. I was wrong. As long as you come back, as long as you return to me, I will do anything you ask.
The plea seemed utterly heartfelt. She choked up several times. At the end of the video, she raised the reward money from $100,000 to $300,000. With the bounty doubled, the saga became a hot topic both domestically and internationally. Even Oliver, all the way in his new home abroad, got wind of it. He was in the middle of preparing for an art exhibition in Holland and learning the ropes of running his own studio, so swamped he could barely see straight. Had it not been for a fellow expatriate student helping him out and showing him the video, he would never have imagined that the proud Isabella Crawford could humble herself to such a degree. He watched the whole thing, and not a single spark of being moved ignited in him. He only felt a deep, gnawing irritation. He felt the message he had conveyed to her was already clear enough. Besides, go back to what? To continue wasting away in a dark, sunless room in a psychiatric hospital until his despair consumed him? Even if she truly regretted her actions, as she claimed, there was absolutely no way he could ever turn back. He had found his purpose, his career. His life was now fuller and happier than it had ever been in his past existence. He was doing what he wanted to do, no longer a mere stand-in for someone else. A good horse never grazes on the same patch of grass it has already left behind. What made her think a few words of apology could wipe away the years of deception? No, between them, it was far more than just deception. She had also, for her own selfish ends, destroyed his career. He could never forgive her, not ever. In this life, he had consulted a lawyer. If not for the fact that the crimes were too old, physical evidence was now practically non-existent, and the statute of limitations had long since expired, he would have moved heaven and earth to seek justice for himself. And so, watching her apology only struck him as utterly laughable. If I hadn't made a clean break and faked my death, would she have ever come to her so-called realization? No, never. Facing me, she would have continued to weave her suffocating web of false affection, keeping me entangled until I breathed my last. Facing Sebastian, she would have kept pining in silence, sighing over a love she could never fully have. She would have done exactly what she did in our previous life, wait for Eleanor and Sebastian to divorce, then divorce me, make me disappear, and finally honor the so-called true love in her heart. She might not even love me that much right now. After years of being in a position of absolute power, she's used to controlling everything. I've slipped out of her grasp, and she's simply not accustomed to it. That's the only reason she's reacting this way. A person doesn't walk the same path of ruin twice. There was no way he was going back, since she was so determined to find him, then let her come. He would settle things once and for all. Oliver turned to the student who had been helping him. Here's a chance for you to earn some pocket money. On the other side of the ocean, Lily, upon receiving a set of exceptionally clear photographs, immediately rushed to report. Isabella was in the middle of processing documents while hooked up to an IV drip. At these words, her head snapped up, a frantic, uncontrollable joy erupting in her eyes. Miss Crawford, someone has provided photos of Mr. Miller in an arts district in H country. These are far more credible than the previous tips. She didn't care if it might be another false lead. She couldn't bear to miss a single shred of hope. She had endured enough of the days without Julian Miller. He was like water. Present, it seemed so bland and tasteless. But once it was taken away, you realized it was the very essence of your survival. Isabella wept with a sudden, violent joy. She ripped the IV needle from her arm and began preparations to go to him immediately. A photograph taken from such a close distance, he could not have been unaware of it. He was inviting her to come. Could it be that he had seen her apology video? That gentleman gave me food once, saved my life. I see him going in and out of there all the time.
Julian, it's been a long time.
The instant their eyes met, the trace of a smile in Julian's eyes vanished like a wisp of smoke, replaced by an absolute, impersonal coldness. He looked at Isabella, and the image of her before him overlapped with the woman from his past life, the one who had pressed charges against him for attempted harm. I had a dream once. In the dream, on our wedding anniversary, you disappeared. When I found you, I saw you in Sebastian's arms. You told me you'd only ever seen me as his replacement. You said you married me so I wouldn't disrupt the lives of Eleanor and him. My right hand, you had it deliberately ruined by people you hired. The reason we never had children in all those years was that you felt physically sickened by the thought of being close to me, as if it were a betrayal of Sebastian. Can you tell me that this dream was a lie?
Stop! Please, I'm begging you, don't say any more.
She wanted to run away, to deny it all. The scripts she had rehearsed 1,000 times in her mind were rendered pathetically, devastatingly powerless under his calm, steady narration. She stared at him, sobbing so violently she could barely catch her breath. She couldn't bear to see these cold, indifferent eyes. They were so different from the ones in her dreams. The man in her dreams would have prepared stomach medicine for her, cheered her on, and offered her guidance and solutions. This past year, it was only when she came home from work and saw his lifeless body that she felt even a flicker of life within herself. And now he had reappeared, alive. It was the most wonderful thing. After a long while, Isabella managed to steady her breathing. She finally spoke.
Julian, I was wrong. I shouldn't have deceived you. I shouldn't have used you as his substitute. I shouldn't have hurt you. It was only after you left that I understood how important you are to me. Please, I'm begging you, can you forgive me? As long as you can forgive me and come back with me, I'll do anything you want.
She pleaded with such desperation that she seemed ready to kneel right there in the street. She had steeled herself for his cold mockery and bitter words, but she had forgotten that he was, at his core, still so gentle. He listened quietly, and then a gentle smile appeared on his face.
All right, if you can do one thing for me, I'll forgive you. This answer was so unexpected, so jarringly hopeful, that Isabella's face was instantly flooded with ecstatic joy. Really?
Oliver's lips curved upwards. Of course. You do this one thing, and I will forgive you and go back with you. If you can't, then from now on, we go our separate ways. We never see each other again, and we never disturb each other's peace. A renewed fire of hope ignited in Isabella's eyes. She didn't dare refuse. This was her only chance. And some deep-seated instinct told her that he would never ask anything truly unreasonable.
What is it?
Oliver raised his right hand. On his ring finger, one could still faintly discern the pale band of skin where a ring had once sat. Go find the ring I threw down the drain. Get it back from me, and I'll forgive you. With that, he stood and walked away, leaving her no opportunity to say another word. Frantically, Isabella fumbled for her phone and dialed the person in charge of the auction venue. The director, upon hearing her request, responded with profound difficulty. Miss Crawford, you have to understand. Our venue is right on the coast. The wastewater is specially treated and then piped directly out into the ocean. The director's voice continued to explain, but Isabella could no longer make out the words. A droning, desperate buzz filled her skull. A single ring. An entire sea. So the hope he had offered her was a hope of unspeakable cruelty. She sat there, frozen and numb, staring blankly at the empty chair where he had sat, until the snow had covered its entire surface. A staff member came to address her. "Ma'am, we're closing up now." Isabella shifted her frozen body and began walking down the long, dark streets of a foreign country, feeling utterly, profoundly homeless. In a daze, she felt as though she were reliving the day she had married him. She had once believed she could never love another person besides Sebastian. On that wedding night, she had wanted to drown herself in alcohol to escape the reality of her new marriage, but no matter how much she drank, she wouldn't get drunk. Then, seized by a sudden inspiration, she had lied about her cycle, pretending to be in such pain that she couldn't leave the bed. Julian had fussed over her, scolding her gently for drinking so much cold alcohol at such a time. He had made her warm ginger tea, massaged her belly, and wiped her face and hands with a tender, damp cloth. Only after he had fallen asleep did she open her eyes and gaze at his face, a face so similar to Sebastian's. Even now, she still could not distinguish whether she had been moved by his tenderness back then, or if she had truly just seen him as a substitute. In any case, she had started to make a habit of being good to him. The more guilt she felt, the more she tried to compensate, until the line between truth and pretense became so blurred she couldn't see it herself. Was there any hope left between them? Should she still try? Yes. Even if the chance was 1 in a million, she had to seize it. Isabella returned home. She spent money like water, as if she wanted to hire every diver in existence and buy every piece of equipment ever made. Starting from the drainage pipe's outflow point, that patch of ocean was lit up like daylight 24 hours a day. Group after group of divers went down. Group after group resurfaced with nothing. The search area expanded relentlessly, and the stubborn obsession in Isabella's eyes deepened with each passing day. Due to the previous media frenzy, her every move was a subject of heated public debate, and no one believed she would succeed. The ocean covers 71% of the planet. That ring is maybe 2 centimeters long. The water moves, sea life might swallow it. You'd have a hard time finding it, even with the power of every nation on Earth. She was rejected so definitively. She should just stop harassing him. You only learn to appreciate the tissue once the snot's already dripping, huh? You only know love after the person is gone? Where was this energy before? The chaotic spectacle continued for half a month. Isabella Crawford's sheer, desperate madness slowly shifted some netizens' attitudes from condemnation to a sort of pained sympathy. Some even began to help, posting messages online, calling out to Julian Miller on her behalf, begging him to forgive her. The winter seaside was brutally cold. Isabella's health, already fragile, had deteriorated dramatically, yet she had been keeping vigil at the shore since the very first day of the search. After half a month, everyone told her it was impossible. How could she not know that herself? But to stop the search was to give up on him entirely. A freezing wind whipped the snow around her.
Miss Crawford, if you won't go to the hospital, at least drink your medicine, please.
Isabella's body burned with fever, her head swimming woozily. She pulled out a photograph Julian had, half a month ago, returned to Sweden, and opened his personal studio. The photo was taken at the opening, and it included his current contact information. She dialed the number. "Hello, you've reached Oliver's studio. How can I help you?" Hearing that familiar voice, Isabella choked on a sob.
Julian, I can't find it.
Oliver had been extremely busy lately, too swamped to pay any attention to the happenings online. And since he hadn't been bothered for so long, he assumed she had long since given up. If you can't find it, then you can't find it. But if I can't find it, you won't come back to me. A cold sneer came from the other end of the line, the sarcasm grating against her ear like a blade of ice. "Ms. Crawford, after all these years of performing your deep, tragic love in front of me, don't tell me you've actually started to fool yourself? Isabella, I'm living a good life now. I will absolutely never go back. You just can't accept that I've slipped out of your control, that I left so abruptly. It's just your obsession clawing at you. Given enough time, you've eventually forget me. Actually, I didn't finish that dream I told you about. I couldn't accept the truth. When I confronted you, you just looked at me with cold eyes and had me locked up in the Crawford mansion. In my madness, I wanted to end it altogether. But you pressed charges against me for attempted harm, and had me confined in the deepest, darkest room of a psychiatric hospital. You and Sebastian lived your happily ever after, while I was condemned to never see the light of day, left to pass away in silence and obscurity. So, Isabella, between us, there has never, ever been a path that leads back." Isabella wept without control, shaking her head in anguish, unable to utter a single word. Amidst the panicked shouts of the people around her, she collapsed headfirst into the wind and snow. Having barely rested for miserable half a month, combined with a severe cold, fever, and a lung infection, Isabella Crawford fell into a deep coma. Crawford Group was thrown into utter chaos. Family members fought for control, high-level executives were in a state of flux, and rival corporations circled like sharks, scenting blood in the water. The elder, Mr. Crawford, who had retired to a peaceful old age, was forced to return to the helm and steady the ship with sheer force of will. But his energy was finite, and the Crawford Group remained on the verge of collapse. He prayed day and night for his daughter to wake up. In the hospital bed, Isabella's eyes were tightly shut. On her pale face, expressions flickered between smiles and tears. In her dream, she truly loved Julian Miller. She had children with him, and they lived a happy, blissful life. Then the scene shifted violently. Julian was wearing a hospital gown, being forced to the ground, his face pressed against the cold floor. He struggled furiously, and through the iron bars, he looked at her with eyes full of hatred and loathing. With a final, desperate effort, he yanked off his ring and hurled it at her face. "Isabella Crawford, I despise you." He walked toward the end of the corridor.
No! Julian! You can't be this cruel! The ring? The ring! Julian, I found it! I found the ring! Will you forgive me now, please? Julian, don't leave.
She begged in utter desperation. Julian Miller never looked back, his footsteps never faltering. She chased with all her might, but she couldn't catch up. She could only watch, helpless, as he vanished from the world.
Julian!
Isabella sat bolt upright in the hospital bed with a scream, crying and shouting his name. The nurse rushed to get the elder, Mr. Crawford. He came in just as she was struggling to get out of bed.
You just woke up. What madness are you up to now?
The ring dot, it still hasn't been found. I have to keep searching.
There's nothing left to search. I've dismissed all the divers and sold the equipment. Starting today, you will focus your mind and manage the company properly.
Isabella remained silent. Seeing he was dealing with his most beloved daughter after all, the elder, Mr. Crawford, softened his tone and spoke with deep, heartfelt sincerity. "I trained you with everything I, Crawford, had overruled all objections to hand you the Crawford Group because I believed you were rational, level-headed, and able to separate public from private. And look at you now, all for the sake of finding that live-in son-in-law. You've made a laughingstock of yourself. You've dragged the Crawford name through the mud." Isabella insisted on leaving. The elder, Mr. Crawford, was so enraged he pounded his cane on the floor. He cast aside all familial affection and issued a cold threat.
You want to go find him? Fine. First, resign from your position as CEO. But understand this. Julian Miller has cost Crawford Group a perfectly capable president. I will not let that go. Find him or protect him. Choose carefully.
Mr. Crawford finished speaking and left immediately, the tapping sound of his leather shoes on the hospital corridor floor fading into the distance. He still had a pile of meetings to attend. Who would have thought that at his age, with so few days left to live, he would end up having to exhaust himself over his children's foolish messes, cleaning up their disastrous aftermath. Isabella moved almost the instant the door closed. She yanked the IV needle from the back of her hand, a bead of blood instantly welling up. Not bothering to wipe it, she threw off the covers and stumbled out of bed to chase after him.
Dad, listen to me. Please, don't do this. Julian, he...
Go back and lie down. Look at the state you're in.
Isabella's desperate pleas ultimately failed to melt that layer of ice. The violent emotional turmoil and her still recovering strength made her vision go completely black, and her body went limp, sliding to the floor. When she woke again, she had been forcibly kept at the hospital, with guards posted outside her door, officially for medical treatment and recuperation. A week later, Isabella's health had barely improved. Just as the doctors were deliberating whether to allow her to be discharged, terrible news arrived. Mr. Crawford had collapsed on site while inspecting a major project and had been rushed into emergency surgery. The operating light stayed on for a long time. When Mr. Crawford regained consciousness, the first thing he saw was his daughter's deathly pale face at his bedside. With great difficulty, he raised a hand, struggling to remove the breathing mask on his face. Isabella hurried forward to help him.
Isabella, let it go. It's not that I'm heartless, unwilling to grant your wish. Your brothers and sisters, I spoiled them rotten. They only care about power and self-interest, fighting for control and lining their own pockets every day. The Crawford Group's vast legacy now rests on your shoulders alone, the only one who's clear-headed and capable. The Crawfords cannot end with me, and they certainly cannot end with you. I can promise you not to touch Julian Miller, but you must also promise me two things. First, never see Julian Miller again. Make a clean break. Second, from your brothers' families, choose a child with good potential. Adopt the child into your name, take them under your wing personally, and raise them properly. I need you to ensure the Crawfords have a worthy successor. Isabella, consider this. Fulfilling your father's last request,